I want to tell you about the moment I noticed something was wrong. I was standing in the cereal aisle, holding a box I've bought for probably 10 years. Same brand, same price on the shelf tag, but the box felt lighter in my hand. So I checked the weight printed on the side. It had gone down. Nobody announced it. Nobody put up a sign. It just quietly happened. That's when I started paying attention. And once you start looking, you can't stop seeing it. Grocery stores are changing right now, in 2026, in ways most shoppers haven't clocked yet. Some products are shrinking. Some are being quietly discontinued. Some are being reformulated so the company can call it new and improved while giving you less of what you actually wanted. This isn't a conspiracy theory. This is just how the math works when ingredient costs go up and companies don't want to raise the sticker price. I'm going to walk you through 15 grocery products and categories that are being phased out, shrunk, or replaced right now. Some of these will surprise you. Number 7 had me genuinely annoyed when I found out, so stick around for that one. If you want more of these breakdowns before they show up anywhere else, go ahead and subscribe now, because this channel is where I share what I find before it becomes common knowledge. Let's get into it. Here's the pattern you need to understand before we start. Companies rarely say, "We are raising the price." Instead, they shrink the package. Or they quietly drop a slow-selling variety. Or they reformulate with cheaper ingredients and call it an upgrade. It's not illegal. It's not even hidden exactly. It's just easy to miss if you're not looking closely. So let's look closely together. Item number 1. Name brand. Orange juice. Orange juice is one of the clearest examples of this whole trend. This one surprised me because I didn't expect something as basic as juice to be a target. Citrus crop shortages in Florida have pushed up the cost of oranges for years now, and juice makers have responded by trimming bottle sizes instead of raising prices outright. One well-known juice brand quietly went from 52 ounces down to 46 ounces on store shelves, while the price tag barely moved. Consumer watchdog groups that track packaging changes have documented this shift across multiple juice brands over the past couple of years, not just one isolated case. When I checked my own receipts going back a few months, I realized I was buying the same bottle every week and just not noticing the size creeping down. It wasn't until I lined up an older bottle next to a new one that the difference actually hit me. That's the trick. They count on you not comparing side by side. If you drink orange juice regularly, start checking the ounces printed on the label, not just the price. Consider buying concentrate instead, since it tends to hold its value better per serving. And if you have freezer space, frozen concentrate is worth stocking up on when it's on sale. This is a small thing on its own, but it adds up fast over a year of grocery trips. You don't want to be quietly paying more for less without even realizing it. Item number 2. Diet soda with older sweetener blends. This one is more about what's disappearing than what's shrinking. The old formula diet sodas, the ones built around aspartame blends from years back, are being pushed off shelves in favor of newer zero-sugar formulas. Beverage companies have been shifting hard toward reformulated zero-sugar lines that are designed to taste closer to full-calorie soda. And that shift leaves the older diet versions increasingly vulnerable to discontinuation. Retailers have been trimming regional and low-volume versions of these older formulas for a few years now, and that trend is accelerating. Industry reporting on beverage strategy has been pretty consistent on this. Executives want fewer overlapping products and more focus on the versions that sell the most, nationwide. I actually have a family member who still buys the old formula Diet Cola out of habit, and last month, her usual store stopped carrying it entirely. She had to call around to 2 other locations just to find a case. Nobody warned her. It was just gone 1 week. If you have a specific diet soda you rely on, check the label now for the exact formula name and don't assume your store will keep stocking it. If you find a case you like, it might be worth grabbing a few extra now, rather than discovering later that your store switched over without telling you. Little habits like this are exactly the kind of thing that catches people off guard at the worst time, like right before a holiday gathering. Item number 3. Seasonal flavored coffee. Creamer. Flavored coffee creamer feels like it should be a safe, permanent category, but the seasonal specialty flavors are getting cut fast. Retailers and manufacturers increasingly want limited-time flavors that move quickly and predictably, and some of the more specific viral flavors simply don't justify a repeated production run. A creamer flavor can blow up on social media for a few weeks and still miss its sales targets once the initial hype fades. Retail buyers have been trimming the tail end of these seasonal lineups, keeping only the flavors that consistently perform every single year. I got hooked on a specific limited creamer flavor 2 winters ago, went looking for it again the following year, and it had just vanished from every store near me. No explanation, no substitute on the shelf, just an empty spot where it used to sit. If there's a seasonal creamer flavor you actually love, buy a few bottles when it shows up instead of waiting, since creamer freezes reasonably well in small portions. Don't assume it will automatically come back next season just because it did the year before. It sounds small, but these little seasonal disappointments are a preview of a much bigger shift happening across the whole store. Item number 4, plant-based refrigerated dips. Plant-based and dairy-free dips had a huge wave of new products a couple of years ago, and now a lot of that shelf space is quietly shrinking back down. Shoppers who wanted to try dairy-free options have mostly settled into just 1 or 2 trusted staples instead of buying every new variation that shows up. That means the more experimental, niche flavors in this category are the ones getting cut first, even while the basic staples stay in stock. This is a pretty normal pattern in the food industry. A category explodes with new products, shoppers narrow down to favorites, and the rest get quietly discontinued within a year or two. I remember trying probably 5 different plant-based dip brands within a few months, out of pure curiosity, and now I can only find 2 of them anywhere near me. The rest just disappeared from the shelf with no announcement. If you found a plant-based dip you genuinely like, don't assume it's permanent. Keep an eye on the shelf, and if you notice it getting pushed to a smaller section or a bottom shelf, that's often a sign it's on its way out. You won't believe number 8 on this list, by the way. It's one most people have never even thought to question. Item number 5. Adventurous bagged salad kit flavors. Salad kits as a whole category are healthy and growing, but the more adventurous, premium flavor combinations are being trimmed. People are still buying salad kits regularly, but they're less willing to gamble on a specific premium flavor combination they're not sure their household will actually like. That caution is pushing manufacturers to focus on the reliable, familiar combinations and quietly drop the riskier ones. This lines up with broader reporting on how grocery shoppers are behaving in 2026, generally sticking closer to trusted, predictable purchases rather than experimenting the way they might have a few years ago. I used to grab a different salad kit flavor every week just to mix things up, and I've noticed my usual store now carries maybe half the variety it did a year ago. The basic Caesar and the classic house blend are still there. The specialty ones are gone. If you've got a favorite specialty salad kit, don't assume it's a permanent fixture. Try building your own version at home with the base greens plus your own toppings, so you're not dependent on one specific packaged combination sticking around. This is really about protecting your routine, not just your wallet. Losing your go-to option without warning is annoying more than anything else. Item number 6. Boxed macaroni and cheese. Boxed mac and cheese is about as close to a permanent household staple as it gets, which is exactly why the shrinkage on this one stood out to me. Several well-known boxed mac and cheese brands have quietly reduced their net weight, in some cases by close to a full ounce per box, while keeping the shelf price the same. That might sound small, but across a family that buys this weekly, it adds up over a year. This fits directly into the broader shrinkflation pattern that watchdog groups and government researchers have been tracking for years now, where package downsizing contributes a real, measurable chunk to food inflation without ever showing up as a price increase on the tag. I actually keep a couple of empty boxes in my pantry from a year or 2 ago, just out of habit, and when I compared the printed net weight to a box I bought last week, the difference was right there in black and white. Same box design, same price, less inside. Check the net weight printed on the box next time you're in that aisle, and compare it to what you remember. If you go through this staple quickly, buying the larger multi-pack sizes when they're on sale tends to protect you better than buying single boxes at full price. This is one of those quiet changes that really is about protecting your grocery budget, one small box at a time. Item number 7. Paper towels and household paper products. This is the one that genuinely annoyed me when I looked into it, because it's not even food. It's something almost every household buys without thinking twice. Paper towel brands have been reducing the sheet count per roll while keeping the roll looking roughly the same size on the shelf. One well-known triple roll product reportedly dropped from around 135 sheets down to about 123, without any drop in price. Consumer tracking sites that photograph and compare packaging over time have documented this kind of change across multiple household paper brands, not just a single product. I actually started counting sheets on my own roll after reading about this, which felt a little ridiculous, but the count was lower than what I remembered from a year or two back. It's such a boring, ordinary product that nobody thinks to question it, which is exactly why it's an easy place to quietly give you less. Compare the sheet count and total square footage printed on the packaging, not just the roll size, since a roll can look identical while actually holding less paper. Buying in bulk from a warehouse club tends to give you a more stable per sheet cost over time. It's a small thing, but it's also a perfect example of how these changes hide in plain sight on products you buy on autopilot. Item number 8. Store brand instant ramen multi-packs. Here it is, the one I told you about earlier. Instant ramen multi-packs, the cheap staple that budget-conscious shoppers have relied on for decades, are quietly shifting too. Some store brand multi-packs have reduced the number of blocks included in the bag, going from a larger count down to a smaller one, while keeping the bag size and price point roughly the same on the shelf. It's a subtle change because the outer packaging often looks nearly identical. This fits the broader pattern researchers have identified where manufacturers introduce a new, smaller version of a product that quietly replaces the older, larger one, rather than shrinking the exact same package over time. I buy ramen in bulk pretty regularly, and I noticed my usual case felt lighter than normal a few months back. When I checked the count on the bag against an older receipt, sure enough, it had dropped. Small dollar amount, but it's one of the most purchased budget items out there, so it affects a lot of people. Count the individual packs inside the bag next time you buy in bulk and compare the total price per pack rather than just glancing at the total price on the shelf tag. If your usual multi-pack count has quietly gone down, it might be worth comparing brands again instead of assuming your go-to is still the best deal. This is exactly the kind of item where staying alert protects real money over the course of a year, especially if it's a household staple you buy weekly. Item number 9. Name brand. Potato chips. Potato chips are another category where the bag size looks familiar, but what's inside has been quietly shrinking. One major chip brand reportedly dropped from around 9 ounces down to about 8.5 ounces, while the bag itself stayed visually similar, partly because the air pocket inside the bag didn't shrink along with the product. That makes the change even harder to notice just by looking at the shelf. This lines up with wider tracking of snack pricing, where per-unit costs on snack items have climbed noticeably as package sizes have quietly come down across the category. I'll admit I only noticed this one because a friend who worked retail mentioned it to me directly, and once she pointed it out, I went and checked the weight printed on my usual bag. She was right. It had gone down from what I remembered. Check the net weight printed at the bottom of the bag, not just the price, and compare it against what you remember from 6 months or a year ago if you can. Buying larger family-size bags when they're discounted tends to offer a more stable price per ounce than the standard single bags. Snacks feel like a small purchase, but they're one of the categories where this kind of quiet shrinkage happens the most often, so it's worth staying sharp here specifically. Item number 10. Individually wrapped. Snack cakes. Individually wrapped snack cakes and cupcakes are another product where the packaging looks the same, but the actual contents have been trimmed down. One well-known brand of individually wrapped cupcakes reportedly shrank its net weight by more than a third, going from a little over 12 ounces down to around 9¼ ounces, all while the box design stayed nearly identical on the shelf. This is one of the more dramatic examples that packaging trackers have documented, and it illustrates just how much a product can shrink before most shoppers ever notice, since the outer box rarely changes enough to catch your eye. I used to buy this specific product for my kids' lunches, and when I finally lined up an older box against a newer one, the size difference was actually kind of shocking. It wasn't subtle once I looked closely, but I never would have looked closely if I hadn't heard about this trend first. If you buy pre-packaged snack cakes regularly, check the net weight on the box the next time you're shopping, and consider comparing the cost per individual cake rather than the cost per box. Store brand alternatives are often a more consistent value here than the name brand. This one really drives home why it pays to look past the price tag and check what you're actually getting for it. Item number 11. Laundry detergent. Laundry detergent is a product almost every household restocks without thinking twice, which makes it another easy target for quiet downsizing. One well-known detergent brand reportedly dropped from around 88 fluid ounces down to about 73 fluid ounces, a drop of roughly 20%, while the bottle shape stayed similar enough that most shoppers wouldn't notice at a glance. Government researchers who study packaging trends have specifically flagged household cleaning products alongside food and personal care items as one of the categories most affected by this kind of downsizing over the past several years. I switched detergent brands a while back for an unrelated reason, and it wasn't until I was comparing bottles side by side in the laundry aisle that I noticed how different the fluid ounce counts were between what looked like similarly sized bottles. Check the fluid ounces printed on the bottle rather than judging by the bottle's height or shape, since bottles can be redesigned to look full while holding less. Buying detergent in bulk or switching to concentrated formulas tends to give you a better price per load over time. This is exactly the kind of essential household item where a quiet size reduction can cost you real money over a year without you ever noticing the moment it happened. Item number 12. Drink mix powder packets. Powdered drink mix packets are a small, cheap product, which is exactly why a change here is so easy to miss. One well-known drink mix brand reportedly cut its packet count nearly in half within a single year, dropping from 6 packets in a box down to 4, while keeping the box size and price largely unchanged on the shelf. This specific change has been documented by consumer watchdog groups that track packaging photos over time, and it's often cited as one of the more aggressive examples of shrinkflation in the beverage category recently. I keep a box of this in my pantry for road trips, and when I went to restock last month, I genuinely thought I'd grabbed the wrong product at first, because the box felt so light. It was the same box, just fewer packets inside. Count the individual packets inside the box before you leave the store if you can, or check the total count printed on the packaging closely. If a brand you rely on has quietly cut its packet count, it's worth comparing the cost per packet against a competing brand before you restock automatically out of habit. It's a small everyday item, but it's a perfect example of how easy it is to keep buying the same box out of habit without ever checking what's actually changed inside it. Item number 13. Regular chocolate bags and bulk. Candy-bagged chocolate and bulk candy is another category where the bag size looks consistent year over year, but the weight inside keeps quietly dropping. One well-known chocolate brand reportedly reduced its bag size by close to 20%, going from a little over 6 ounces down to about 5⅓ ounces, while the bag's overall look stayed close to the same on the shelf. This kind of change tends to show up most around major candy seasons, when shoppers are buying in bulk for holidays and are less likely to carefully compare weights while filling a cart quickly. I stock up on bagged candy heavily around the holidays every year, and it wasn't until I was comparing this year's haul to a photo I'd taken of last year's stash that I noticed the bags looked noticeably less full than before. Check the net weight printed on the bag rather than judging by how full the bag looks, since bag dimensions don't always shrink along with the actual candy inside. If you're stocking up for a holiday or event, buying a couple of extra bags can help make sure you actually have enough. This is a good reminder that even the products tied to fun, low-stakes moments like holidays aren't immune to this same quiet shrinking pattern. Item number 14, Store Loyalty Program. Everyday low price items. This next one isn't a single product. It's a whole shopping habit that's quietly shifting, and it's worth understanding. Retailers have leaned harder into loyalty apps and digital coupons over the past couple of years. And in the process, the number of items with a simple, no-strings, everyday low price printed directly on the shelf tag has been shrinking. More and more of the actual savings are now locked behind an app you have to open and clip coupons inside of. Retail analysts have pointed out that this shift benefits stores by collecting more shopper data, while shifting more of the effort of finding a good price onto the customer instead of the store. I used to be able to walk in, grab what I needed off the shelf, and trust the sticker price was the real price. Now I find myself checking an app before I even get to the register, just to make sure I'm not missing a coupon that would have saved me several dollars on the same cart. Get comfortable checking your store's app before you shop, not just at checkout, since a lot of the real savings now live there instead of on the shelf tag. Set aside a few minutes each week to clip digital coupons for items you buy regularly, rather than assuming the shelf price is the best price available. This shift is subtle, but it changes the whole relationship between you and the store, and it's worth adjusting your habits for. Item number 15, Weekly in-store butcher and deli counters. The last one on this list is about a service, not a product, and it's honestly the one that feels the most like the end of an era. Full-service, staffed butcher and deli counters have been quietly reduced in hours, or closed entirely and replaced with pre-packaged, self-serve cases at a number of grocery chains over the past couple of years. It's a labor cost decision more than anything else, but it changes the actual shopping experience for anyone who relied on that counter. Industry reporting on grocery labor trends has pointed to staffing costs and predictable pre-packaged margins as the main drivers behind this shift, rather than any change in what customers actually want. My local store used to have a full butcher counter where I could ask for a specific cut, a specific thickness, whatever I needed for that week's dinner. Now it's staffed only a few hours a day, and most of the cases pre-packaged, take it or leave it cuts instead. If you rely on a full-service counter for specific cuts or custom orders, check the posted hours next time you're in the store, since they may have quietly changed. It's worth building a relationship with the staff during the hours they are open, since a lot of these counters still make exceptions for regular customers who ask directly. Losing a service like this happens so gradually that most people don't notice until the one week they really needed it and it wasn't there. So here's the pattern behind everything on this list. None of these changes happened with an announcement. No press release, no big sign in the store. They all happened quietly, a little at a time, counting on the fact that most shoppers are moving fast and not comparing closely. That's really the whole point of paying attention like this. It's not about panic, and it's not about assuming every company is out to get you. It's about not being the last person in the room to notice, while everyone around you is still paying full price for less than they used to get. Most people are going to notice these changes eventually, usually the hard way, mid-shop, standing in an aisle wondering why their cart total feels higher than it should. You don't have to be one of them. A little bit of attention at the shelf goes a long way over a full year of grocery trips. If this kind of breakdown was useful to you, hit subscribe, because I'm going through categories like this regularly, and you'll want to see the next one before it shows up everywhere else. Drop a comment and let me know which one of these 15 surprised you the most. And if you caught a change in your own store that I didn't mention here, I genuinely want to hear about it, so leave it in the comments too. Thanks for watching, stay sharp out there, and I'll see you in the next one.